Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the sixth installment of Sniper Sundays. I hope everybody is well and hope you're having a great weekend. And as always, I hope you've had a profitable week in the market, and I hope that the last installment of Sniper Sundays managed to make that possible for you. Personally, I had a great weekend, great week. The week just gone. Not actually in the markets, but my girlfriend gave birth to our baby daughter this week. So I was out of the markets all week this week. I was in hospital since very early Monday morning, and I got out of the hospital late Friday evening. So I've just been home a couple of days, getting used to life with a new addition to the family, and just managed to get some time to do the sniper entries for you today. Now, given that situation last week, I was actually away from home and away from my normal trading desk. So I was using a different device to record Sniper Sundays, and there was a few audio issues last week that a lot of you picked up on. But I was just, I wanted to get the Sniper Sundays video out for you guys once again and make it a weekly thing. So I wanted to get that out last Sunday for you no matter what. So even though I was away from home and I had to use a different computer, I was just determined to get that out for you guys. So the audio should be a lot better this week and back to normal. So on a few things I just want to cover first, before I go over the technicals, is there's just a few little things. Firstly, I just want to go onto my Instagram page here, BD_FX. Over the last few weeks, I get a lot of people, new followers on Instagram, asking or leaving comments underneath the video, asking what my Instagram page is. And this is it here, BD_FX. So anybody who's interested, go over and give me a follow. This is actually where I post all of my day-to-day trades. So I have obviously pictures of my day-to-day life, but on my story, I post all of my trades on a day-to-day basis, show my entries, show the sniper entries, and give basically a running dialogue of my trades and what I'm doing on it every day. So if you're interested, go over and take a look at that. But something I want to show you guys is actually my Twitter page. Now, I've not really been active on Twitter. I've set this up a few weeks ago, but I will be active on this a lot as of tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to be posting, and tomorrow onwards I'm going to be posting my new trade ideas and my trades on Twitter. So anything that I'm looking at getting into, any thoughts I have on the market, I'm going to be posting on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, go over there, give me a follow. It's BD4X_ is my page. So go over there, give me a follow, and yeah, I'm going to be really active this week on Twitter, so you'll get lots of information and lots of trade ideas coming up. Also, we got my landing page on bdforex.com. Again, a lot of people have been asking me on the other videos, especially after last week when I mentioned to go over and subscribe at the end of the video because I'm bringing something out. This is on bdforex.com. This is the page. You just go over here, put your email address in here, then I will be sending an email out next week with all of the info for you guys. Now, at the end of last week's Sniper Sundays video, I mentioned that what I've been working on in the background and what I'm want to bring out for you guys, and some exciting stuff. I gave a release date of May the 19th. So if we just bring up a calendar here, I gave a release date of May the 19th. Now, given the events that happened all last week, I was basically taken away from everything as I was in hospital all week. It's been delayed slightly. I'm having to push it back by a few days, and it's going to be now on May the 22nd. So Wednesday the 22nd of May is going to be the BD4X release. So everybody who's interested and everybody who wants to find out what's coming and everybody that wants to join, please go to bdforex.com. Leave your email address here and you'll be getting all the information in the upcoming week. So I'm going to be sending out all the info. There's a video coming out for you guys to show you what's in store. So really exciting stuff. Go over there and then you'll be the first to find out all of the information, and then all ahead of the release on the 22nd. So really looking forward to that. But enough of all of that sort of stuff. Let's get into what everybody is here for, the technical analysis. So let's start with EURUSD. This is the pair that everybody loves to trade, the most popular pair. And let's just see where we were last week. So last week I posted my Sniper Sundays at 10 o'clock. There was a slight delay, as I said, because I was away from my home desk. And I posted at 10 o'clock, and as soon as the market opened, there was a big gap in the market. The market had moved quite considerably on a lot of pairs, And let me just adjust this. There's a support level missing that I had on for a long time. There we go. Yeah, a lot of pairs had moved, opened up from a lot differently from where the price had closed on Friday evening. So basically, market gaps happened on lots and lots of pairs. Now, what market gaps are, it's when price closes on Friday evening at a certain price, but then on Sunday night when the market reopens, it's a complete different price. Now, what the reason that happens, because on last week when I posted Sniper Sundays at 10 o'clock, loads of people messaging me saying, have you seen the gaps? Have you seen the gaps? Why is there gaps? Now, the reason why gaps happen in the market is because something has happened over the weekend, fundamentally. So either there's been some news, some world news. In this case, it was President Trump talking. In this case, it was to do with China and the tariffs and so on and so on. I'll let you do your own investigation about that. But yeah, there was news come out over the weekend, and that had moved the market. So on market open, price was a complete different price than where it closed on the Friday evening. Now, this is why some people are a bit cautious about leaving trades over the weekend, because this kind of thing can happen. It doesn't happen too often, but it can happen. And what can also happen, unfortunately for us traders, is you may have a stop loss set in place, but if the market moves against you so much, the market might open. For instance, if you've got a long trade and you've got a stop loss below support or something like that, the market might open maybe another 100 pips lower. So it doesn't even trigger your stop loss. And then you actually end up having a bigger loss than you anticipated or were willing to lose when you initially placed that trade. It's quite scary stuff. It doesn't normally happen too often. But also there is the flip side, that obviously the market can open and it could be 100 pips further in profit, which happens a lot of the time when, with technical analysis, fundamentals usually work and just help the technical analysis work. So a lot of the time with market gaps or news, it actually just pushes the market in a direction that I anticipated it to move anyway. So yeah, on Sunday there was a lot of market gaps, and if I just go down to the 1 hour on Euro US dollar, we can see where it happened on last Sunday. So if I just zoom in here, you can see here the gap in price action. This was Sunday evening, came down. This was Friday evening, came down on Sunday evening. We come back to retest the 1.1175 support that I've had drawn on for quite some time. Now, on last Sniper Sundays, I explained I was in no rush really to take a trade on this pair. It was just following non-farm payroll on the Friday before, so I wasn't really in a rush to take a trade. I wanted to wait a couple of days and see what happened in the market. And what we could see, we came down, retested support once on market open, pushed up higher, came down, retested it again, and retested it a third time. And on that third and final time, we had that nice rejection on the 4 hour, and we had that big push up to the area where I was expecting to see price come up to. So what I was looking at last week was actually price coming up to retest this trend line. I said I was staying away until I saw price come up and sort of try to either break out or reject this level, or vice versa, do something similar down around, maybe come down and test or bounce off this trend line support or try to break through. So what we've had is a push up to the upside, and we're trying to break out above here. Now, I'm not really taken on this breakout. You can see it's not the strongest breakout in the world. It could be a fake out. And what we can see here, if we just zoom out, if I just go on the daily chart first of this pair, is we can see that on Friday's daily candle, this candle here, ended as a bit of a shooting star. If I just put this Fibonacci on here, which I've showed you a couple of times in the last few weeks, we've had A, B, just adjust that perfectly, A, B, C retracement here, and that rejection of the 61.8% retracement, and then we come up Thursday, rejected that, on Friday we rejected that again. So we're struggling to break above this resistance level. So I am keeping an eye on taking shorts in EURUSD coming into the week ahead. Now, if I drop down to the 4 hour, a really important level, I keep it quite simple here for you guys, is this resistance level here, 1.1264. Now, I will not be looking at taking longs on EURUSD unless we break above this. If we can break above and close above and come back and retest this level of support, then I'll be looking at taking long trades. But while we're still trading below, technically we are still in a downtrend. You can see here This is a lower high, a lower low, a lower high. And even though we haven't yet created a lower low, we may come up and just retest this resistance, and then we may push down to the downside. So my eyes are all on sort of this level coming into the week ahead. Now, if we don't manage to reach that, because we just break down from here, because we've actually made this double top on the 4 hour, if I drop down to the 1 hour, you can see this double top here. You can see how price has just rejected that once again. We may not actually come up and retest this higher level, and we may just break down to the downside. But what I'm going to be looking out for is, if I just adjust this trend line here, I'm going to be looking at price coming down. I'm going to move this out of the way for the moment to make it nice and clear. I'm going to be looking at price action coming down and retesting this counter trend line. If we can come down and retest this counter trend line, then we will break through and push down to this support that we've been failing to break here. Last week you can see 1, 2, 3. But should that break, then I am looking at price coming down to retest the previous lows, which is at 1.1111. And then I will be looking at price to then come down even lower, and then to fulfill that Fibonacci extension, which I just showed you here, to come down and reach these sort of levels at 1.1055. So that is kind of the setup I'm looking at next week. The short isn't really there right now. I'm going to let the market just see what it's doing on Monday morning. But yeah, I'm looking at price to perhaps come up and retest this resistance level. If we fail to break this resistance level, then I'll be looking at taking a short. If we actually break above and stay above and retest this as support, then we can look at going higher. But until we break above that level there, I'm not looking at taking longs on EURUSD. I am favouring this coming back over and pushing down to the downside. So look at price action. A nice confirmation for the short is a break of this counter trend line. We get a nice strong break below this, then that will confirm shorts to come down to these sort of levels here. So let's look at the next pair, GBPUSD. This was a little bit more tricky last week. So this is the daily chart. We can see here on the daily chart, Friday, we had this doji candle on Thursday. Friday, we had this sort of shooting star. Price tried to push up higher, and we pushed all the way back down. So the bulls are really struggling to have any push up higher once again. But if we just look at what we were looking at last week, we had a break of this this trend line here, and on Friday we had a really big impulsive move up here. So remember, we came down to 1.3000, and we just on late Friday evening had that big impulsive move all the way up up to these levels here. Now I showed you that we had this Fibonacci level and that we had just completed it. So what I was looking out for was a pullback on GBPUSD. I was looking either a pullback to create a new Fibonacci, or to come back and retest the new trend. Now the new trend, we didn't manage. We broke through, and we've now retesting that form of support here. So this is quite an interesting level. Here at the moment we've got 1.3000. This sort of level that everyone who trades GBPUSD knows the price has been sort of stuck around for a long time. You can see here support, resistance, support, all through for ages and ages. This is on the daily chart. This is going back weeks and months. Resistance, resistance, support, 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 support. So we're really sort of just like hovering around this level, and we're finding it hard to break away and stay away from it. But on the 4 hour, we can see that we come back down and retested it once again. And on here, we are retesting this support here. So this is a very interesting level coming into next week. I'm going to be watching price action around this level, 1.2985 sort of level. If I just put on a bigger Fibonacci here, we can see, I'll just readjust this. We can see that we come down and tested at 61.8% retracement level. So I'm going to be watching to see whether we can break through this. If we reject this once more, like we have here, here, and here, then I will be looking at price coming back up and pushing back up to the upside, retesting sort of this resistance level, and then coming up and taking out the Fibonacci extensions up here. But that's longer term. Something on a bigger picture on the daily that I am looking at though is, so always try and have a look at the bigger picture. We have this trend line coming through at the bottom here that I'm going to be looking out for. Price may try and push down a little bit lower to sort of tap this first, one last time for that third time, in order to get that catalyst to push up higher and get the boost to move up higher, or vice versa. If we should we break this, then I think there's a lot of downside for GBPUSD if we can break this daily ascending trend line. So what we're looking for is early next week, seeing some signs, seeing whether 1.2985, this sort of level here, can hold. If that should break, then I think price is going to come down and retest this sort of level here. I'll just show you. So anywhere around these sort of levels, I think we're going to come down and retest this trend line. And from here, I'll be watching to see whether the bulls come back in the market and push this all the way back up. But yeah, very interesting levels. No trade right now for GBPUSD, but with that Fibonacci I just showed you, that makes this area very, very interesting. We've got that 1.3000 support. We've got this support here, and it confluences with the 61.8% retracement level. So keep an eye on that. Remember, it could always go a little bit lower, and there is that trendline support here. And once we get to that trendline support, I'll be keeping an eye on this to see whether we can actually bounce off that, or if we do break, then I do see a lot of downside potential. EURGBP, really good trade. Last week I did actually manage to take this one. I went over this last week in quite some detail, and loads of you guys actually sent me your trades on this. You actually sent me your profits, your entries, and you guys had really good entries on this one. Now, I went into quite some detail on this, which was EURGBP. We are stuck in this 200 pip range and have been for quite some time. These levels here, that we're just spiked below this range, we haven't traded lower than that since last May 2017. I need to go to the weekly chart to look at those prices over here. So you can see for quite some time we've been stuck within this 200 pip region. Here you can see this 200 pip region, and even though we had this really kind of strong push down to the downside back to that key level of 0.8500, as explained last week, I really didn't see us breaking through that unless we got some real big news from either euro or the pound, whether we got some Brexit news or something to make it break through this level, because if we haven't been able to do it over here back in March, and yeah, all in March, April, May, March, if we couldn't do it here, then why we're going to be able to do it now? We've got this sort of range that we're stuck in, and I could see that we're going to get the balls are going to come in and we're going to be well supported. So as explained, I said look out for any bullish signs around this level, and then you could take a long trade. So really nice trade here from the bottom here, 0.8500, 135 pips, 150 in all, back up to 0.8650. So a lot of you got that whole move and got in from the bottom. So if we go down to the 4 hour, we can see there we had that 4 hour bullish engulfing. If we drop down to the 1 hour, I believe price actually gapped on the Sunday, like a lot of other pairs. So you see that slight gap in price. So price pushed down on market open. We had that 1 hour doji candle, 1 hour bullish engulfing. These three candles, even though it's not great because of that gap, it's sort of like a morning star formation. And then we just saw this 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just go back to the 4 hour chart. And we just saw the really strong bullish price action coming into the market. So we had that 4 hour bullish candle, then a bullish engulfing, very, very strong. And then we just took off, sort of like a rocket, come all the way back up and broke through resistance at 0.8600, and then we moved up 50 pips higher. So I'm keeping an eye on this pair coming into the week ahead. I'm keeping an eye on it for GBPUSD. I have taken some profit. I do expect this to come back and perhaps retest this, but keep an eye on GBPUSD. If this level holds on GBPUSD, this support, then I do think that this pair will come up higher. But yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one on GBPUSD. So if with GBPUSD, should we get stronger and actually this area of support hold and it gets stronger, then I do see this pair coming back down. Longer term, if we can break below 0.6800 and come back down once again, we have to see how far this pulls back after this big boost up to the upside. But if we actually don't, and the pound gets weaker, and we actually come down to this trend line and we break even lower, then I do see Euro GBP coming up and testing 0.8700. But even if we just come down to sort of this trend line here with GBP USD, you might see Euro GBP move up a little bit higher and try and aim towards these previous resistance around this level here. Just have a look at that on a daily. We might come back up and sort of retest these levels. So yeah, keep an eye out on these sort of levels here. But GBP USD is quite interesting for next week. USD CAD, another trade that a lot of you guys showed me your profits on. A lot of you done very well on this. Last week, this was my setup. I explained that we had broken out of this counter trend line here. So we had broken out, and I explained our favored shorts on this pair now that we were in the sell zone. So after breaking this counter trend line, we were in the sell zone all the way or anywhere around this sort of level. We came up and retested that once, twice, 3 times. And on the end of last week's Sniper Sundays, I explained that I favored shorts, and then we had this gap. See the gap in the market here again? We pushed up to the upside, but probably kind of spooked a lot of people out and thought that this was going to be bullish and start pushing higher. But in fact, what it done was give you a better opportunity to take a short. So obviously I said I favored shorts in the market in this market. So rather than taking a short down here and having your stop loss above the previous high over here by say 20 or 30 pips, and then having your target to come down, now what you had was you could take a short from up around these levels with a smaller stop loss, and then target. This was my actual first target that I said to you last week. So yeah, a lot of you got a nice trade in that. If you were patient enough on this, because it did make a move down and come back up and a few times, we did actually come up and test that 1.350 resistance level and sort of form that double top with this form of resistance over here. And once we tap that, you can see there on the 4-hour chart, if I just zoom in, we had that 4-hour bearish engulfing here, and then we just sort of just fell down to the downside. We had some Canadian news that actually helped out on that, and we came down and more or less hit my first target of 1.3380. Now I do expect more downside on USD CAD, but one thing that you need to be aware of on this pair is, should this be moving in an uptrend, should this remember, you have to look at both sides of the coin. You have to look at the bullish side, bullish signs, and the bearish to see and weigh up both options. That if this was to be to move up higher, this could possibly have just printed a new higher low. Because if this is a higher high, a higher low, we haven't created that higher high, but until we break this, this could still be an uptrend. So what I'll be looking out for is price to break through this support, and that can confirm the short trade. So anybody that's holding a short from up here should have took some profit around this level. Stop losses should be now in break even, and we should hopefully see this price push down. So what I'd like to see, anyone that's not in this trade, is for this to break below 1.33725, break below this support, and then once it comes back to retest as resistance, then we can look at taking a short trade down to 1.3250. That's if we get that break and then a retest and we reject that as resistance. So that's something to keep an eye on for next week. But just be aware of that level. That's what I'm here to do, to try and sort of show you key levels to help you trading, and just show you that if this price does come down and fails to break this support level, then there could be a possible long trade on the cards. So keep an eye out for that. USDJPY, again, this was another pair that a lot of you guys showed me some of your trades on. Let's just look here. Big market, this is on the daily chart, big gap in the market here. I explained last week that, and this is while price was up here. Price was up here when I made last week's video. I put on this level here at 11085 and said that to take a short trade on this, I'd want to see a break of this level here, come back and retest it as resistance, just as we have, and then I'd be looking at taking short trades down to 110. So short trades there, and then coming down to 110, which is there. So we have done that. We've actually come down fell 80 pips from there down to 110, and we managed to fall even further and break through that support. Now, as you can see here, I've got this support actually placed on here. which is just below 110. And you can see how price action is actually forming around here. We've had this on the 4 hour. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spikes to the downside, failing to break any lower. And then on the end of Friday, we had this big bullish engulfing candlestick, engulfing these previous sort of candles here, and looking like we're trying to make a move higher. On USDJPY, if we can break above 110, if I just get rid of this sort of highlighted zone, we're in a consolidation zone here. If we can break above this this consolidation zone, might come back and retest that as support, then I'll be looking at taking long trades on USDJPY, coming back up to 11085, and then maybe longer term coming back all the way back up to 112.00. So that's my setup on USDJPY. And let me just zoom out once again. Yes, we're in that consolidation zone. So until we get a clear break of that, be careful that we don't get whiplashes trying to break out like this, forcing you or tricking you into taking short trades. Just be careful. If we get a nice clear breakout to the upside, then long trades are valid. So I do like the look at this coming back up. We try to break through that support, but yeah, I do like the look of this coming back up and filling this gap. Basically, we had this gap. The market didn't actually come back and fill it since it opened on Sunday evening. So I do think that price could come back up and sort of retest these levels. Now looking at US oil, just a setup that I've been looking at. So let me just delete a few things. What we have here is, again, this is the market gap on Sunday evening. If you look back to the last 2 or 3 videos on Sniper Sundays, I've basically called out $60 to be hit on, $60 a barrel to be hit as a target. Should we be able to break $63 a barrel? So $63 a barrel was up here. I'm short from the very, very top, but when we came down here, I called a retracement to this level, 64.50, and take a short. And if we could break $63 a barrel, that we would see a lot more downside, and we should take out $60 a barrel. So we broke $63, like I said, come down, and then on that market gap open, we came down and fulfilled that $60 a barrel. Now since then, we've had a move higher, and we've basically come up to retest or try to retest that $63 a barrel. And what my setup for next week is simply like this. I've got this counter trend line on here. If we can break this counter trend line, if price breaks below this counter trend line here, then I will be aiming back to $60. And what my next target would be is, if I just show you this Fibonacci from last week that we fulfilled, we see this A, B, C, and then we hit this extension here. What we may be doing is replicating that once again and fill in another A, B, C, D formation. So you can see there, sorry, let me just quickly show you this again. You can see here that we rejected that 61.8% retracement level perfectly. Now if we are to replicate this again, you can see here that we are coming up to try and tap that 61.8% retracement level once again. And that level actually lines up perfectly with that $63 per barrel sort of resistance level. So I do think that from here, we may come up and retest $63 a barrel once again and retest this 61.8% retracement level before moving any lower if we can. So I'm looking at price coming back up to these sort of levels. Let me just try and delete this. So quite basically, I'm looking at price coming back up to $63 a barrel. If we can show resistance around this level, then I will be looking at taking further shorts to come down and aim back down towards $60 and even lower. But if we break above this, then it will be invalid. This commodity could then start pushing even higher. So I will be looking at possible long trade should we break above $63 per barrel. So a good thing to look out for, keep on your watch list this week, is price coming back up to $63 a barrel. If we show any rejections from this level here, then there could be a nice short trade on from here, coming down to $60 and even further down to $68.80, I believe. Because if we put this Fibonacci on and we do replicate a similar move than we saw the last couple of weeks, you can see my first extension there is at $58.70 per barrel. So that may be a target. So $63 key level to be looking out for. See that form of resistance. If we can come up here, create another new lower high, fail to break up any higher, then we are going to go down lower. First to $60 and then come even lower. So that's a nice setup on US oil. But a break above $63 invalidates all of that, and we could be going a lot higher. Australian dollar, US dollar, and New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Very, very similar. Quite setups that I've had for the last couple of weeks. It's been a bit boring on these pairs, even though there was a lot of news, a lot of high impact news on Australian Aussie dollar last week. So here you can see this sort of highlighted zone that I've had mapped out for the last 2 weeks, and I've explained that this is a consolidation zone, and I'm not really wanting to jump into the market when there was high impact news coming out last week, and before that news came out I didn't want to be in the market and get caught out on the wrong side of the market. So I had this consolidation zone drawn on. I'll just make it a little bit smaller. It was actually here, so I'll show you what happened last week. So this was my consolidation zone. Market gapped here again, opened up a lot lower, but then pulled straight back up. Again, a little bit of manipulation, hitting people's stop losses. So anybody that was trying to long Aussie dollar from around here, the stop losses would have probably been around sort of that kind of level. And then on market open, they could have had the stop losses hit straight away. So this is why I wait for some more signals or more signs from the market before I make a move. So we got back up within that sort of consolidation range, came all the way back up to the top of that range, and then came back down. Now, because we did break lower, I adjust in this consolidation zone, and you can see here now we've actually come down and retested and formed that double bottom here. I do like Australian dollar to come back up. I think it will come back up and retest 0.7050, and if we can break that, I do think we're going to come higher. I do favour the upside on Australian Aussie dollar. If I had been more interactive with the markets, I probably would have looked at an entry from around here. You can see a double bottom here. We can see a 4-hour sort of doji candle, and we had a 4-hour bullish engulfing. So I would have been looking at this price action and liking it for a move back up to the upside. So if you're not in this trade at the moment, then what I do sort of recommend is waiting for price to come up to this sort of level here. From here, I'd want to see a break of this level, a nice clean break, and from here, then I'd want to see a retest of this 0.7050, and then we could take a long. But what we might see is a push back down to the downside from here, and then if we reject this sort of level here, we might find ourselves a nice long opportunity to then take a long back up to the upside. So that's something I'm keeping an eye out for. But in general, wait for a breakout of the consolidation zone. Nice and simple. Wait for a break below or wait for a break above, and then take a long trade or take a short trade on this pair. Other than that, you can just see we're kind of messy on a daily chart. Nothing really showing up for us. So just wait it out. Don't jump in, because something similar to like USDJPY, which happened a few weeks ago, you could be stuck there for a couple of weeks and nobody wants that. So just wait for the breakout and wait for the momentum to come back into the market. Same as NZD USD. New Zealand dollar, high impact news again this week. They actually cut their interest rates. Again, I'll let you do your own research into that. But I haven't changed anything on my chart for the last 2 weeks on this pair. So yeah, this is exactly the same setup as last week. Have this consolidation zone, waiting for a breakout, but not taking any trades until we do. On the interest rate decision, big spike to the downside here. You can see manipulation, bringing in short sellers into the market to take shorts. Then we whipped back up, and also anybody that took long trades and had stop losses took those out of the market as well. And now we're just seeing what the next move is. Again, like Aussie dollar, I do like a move back up on this from this pair. If we reject this support, 0.6585, we will continue to reject this support. And I do like a move back up to 0.6700, and from there we'll have to see whether we can hold that trade to come up higher if we can break above 0.6700. But anyone watching the last few weeks of NZD USD analysis I've been doing know that you can see here how much this pair likes 0.6700. See here, support, resistance, resistance, support, support, and then we're broke through here. Maybe we'll come back up and retest that level as resistance. So that's really it this week, guys. Aussie and New Zealand dollar stand on the side. Just wait for sort of a breakout, or if you can reject the supports here or reject the resistance, you can look at taking trades. US oil, we'll be keeping an eye on $63 a barrel. USDJPY, we can get a break out of this consolidation zone and above 110, then I will be looking at long trades back up to 110.85 and higher. USD CAD, my overall short on this, but just be careful of 1.3380. Euro GBP, 150 pips in profit on that. Let's see what that does early in the week. But yeah, we're still in that 200 pip range. So given that I don't think we're breaking out of this range anytime soon, and that's a 200 pip range, and we're already 150 pips in profit. Take some profit because we might just float around this area now while we wait for a new direction. GBPUSD, I'm waiting for this level here to show me what it's doing. I really like the fact that we're rejecting this 61.8% a lot here, and its form of support, and we've got that key level 1.300. So if we fail to break here and have rejections like we have had here, I do like this pair coming back up to the upside. And Euro US dollar, I've been looking at this pair possibly coming back down lower. But if we break above 1.1265, then long trades are on the cards. So good luck for next week, guys. I hope that helps. I will be releasing lots of stuff for BD Forex during the week. As I said, anyone who puts the email down on the website, we're going to get sent loads of content, and we'll be updated with what's happening. So exciting stuff coming. Hope you all have a great week, and I will speak to you next week on Sniper Sundays. Thank you.